Here is a motivational introduction in the *** style and cadence reminiscent of Billy Graham ***, without mentioning him, without quotes, and without headings. There are moments in life when the deepest wound is not the one inflicted by the person who harmed you, but the sting that comes when others choose to stand beside them. You look around and wonder how people you trusted, people you believed in, could stay connected to someone who tore pieces of your spirit. And in that quiet ache, you may begin to question yourself, your value, your truth. But hear this today: your worth is not measured by who stands with you or who walks away. Your strength is not diminished because others fail to see what you've endured. Sometimes people cling to what is familiar, even when it is harmful, because facing the truth feels heavier than carrying a lie. Yet you are called to rise above their choices. You are called to stand firm in the light of your own healing, knowing that the path ahead is shaped not by who betrayed you, but by the courage that still beats within your heart. And as you move forward, you will find that no alliance, no friendship, no denial can overshadow the strength of a soul determined to grow. When people stay loyal to someone who hurt you, especially someone who twists truth and plays with emotions, it can shake you at your core. It can make you wonder if you were ever seen, ever valued, ever understood. But their loyalty to the narcissist is not a reflection of who you are. It is a reflection of their own fears, their own blind spots, their own desire to stay comfortable rather than confront reality. Some people cling to what looks strong, even when it's destructive. They hold on to charm, confidence, or the illusion of certainty because it feels easier than acknowledging the damage beneath the surface. And when they choose that illusion over your truth, it can feel like a rejection, but it is not a verdict on your worth. Your worth was never up for debate. It was not placed in their hands. You don't exist to be validated by those who lack the courage to face the truth. You don't need the approval of those who prefer a mask over authenticity. Their choices do not reveal your weakness. They reveal their inability to see strength in honesty, vulnerability, and accountability. Many people simply do not know how to stand with the one who speaks truth when truth is uncomfortable. They do not know how to support someone healing because healing requires them to confront their own wounds. But you carry something greater than their perception. You carry resilience that came from pain they never witnessed. You carry growth that sprouted from nights they never stayed awake through. You carry a heart that refused to harden even after being broken. And that heart, that strength, is worth more than the approval of anyone who chooses convenience over character. So don't look at their loyalty to the narcissist as an indictment of your value. Look at it as a revelation. It reveals who is capable of walking with you in truth and who needs the comfort of denial. It shows who has the depth to stand beside integrity and who prefers the surface. And once you see it clearly, you don't chase them, you don't beg for understanding, you don't shrink yourself to win their support. You rise, you move forward. You grow into the kind of person whose worth is defined by the strength of their spirit, not the weakness of someone else's choices. There are times when you look at the people around you and wonder how they can stay attached to someone who drains them, manipulates them, or hurts others without aid. Second thought, you may question why they hold onto a toxic personality with a loyalty that feels misplaced. But the truth is, people often stay connected to what feels familiar, even when that familiarity is harmful. Comfort can be a powerful trap. When someone has grown used to a certain voice, a certain presence, or a certain pattern, breaking away can feel like stepping into a world without direction. Some would rather stay with the poison they know than face the uncertainty of healing. Toxic personalities have a way of creating an illusion of strength. They speak with certainty, they move with confidence, and they wrap their flaws in a charm that blinds those who don't want to look too closely. For some people, That illusion becomes a shelter. It becomes easier to follow someone who seems sure of themselves than to question the truth behind the mask. And questioning that truth means facing uncomfortable realities about their own boundaries, their own fears, and their own need for approval. Others stay because they fear conflict. They don't want to be the one who speaks up, who challenges the behavior, who breaks the pattern. They might believe that keeping peace on the surface is better than confronting the storm underneath. But what they don't realize is that silence in the presence of toxicity only allows the damage to spread. It keeps them stuck in a cycle where they lose pieces of themselves while trying to maintain the illusion of harmony, and then there are the ones who stay because they see potential. They believe they can fix the toxic person, guide them, heal them, carry their weight. They mistake hope for responsibility, thinking it's their job to pull someone out of darkness. But no matter how much compassion they have, they can't change someone who doesn't want to change. They can't fill the emptiness in someone who thrives on taking more than they give. Understanding these reasons helps you see that their choices aren't a reflection of your story, but of their own struggles, their own wounds, their own unanswered fears, their own need to hold on to something that was never meant to guide them toward growth. And that is where their attachment quietly continues to shape their lives, even when they don't realize it. There comes a moment when you realize that the pain you've carried is heavier than the person who caused it. You've been waiting for someone to acknowledge what you went through, to validate the hurt, to show you that your struggle wasn't invisible. But validation from others is fragile. It shifts, it fades, it depends on their comfort, not your truth. Healing, though, that is yours. That is the choice that sets you free. Rising above the pain doesn't mean pretending it never happened. It means refusing to let it define the direction of your life anymore. When you choose healing, you choose strength over approval. You choose growth over recognition. You choose to take back the pieces of yourself that someone tried to break. Pain can shape you, but it doesn't get to own you. There's a fire inside you that wakes up when you decide you're done chasing explanations, done waiting for acknowledgement, done hoping someone finally sees your side of the story. You stop needing them to understand because you understand yourself. And that understanding becomes the foundation you rise from. Validation is tempting because it feels like closure. It feels like justice. But waiting for it keeps you tethered to the very thing you're trying to escape. Healing is different. Healing is quiet. Healing is consistent. Healing asks you to look inward instead of outward. It reminds you that the power to rebuild was always yours. Every time you choose to let go of an argument, you'll never win. Every time you walk away instead of proving a point, every time you breathe instead of reliving the past, you're rising above what tried to pull you down. And rising above doesn't mean you forget. It means you learn. You learn what your heart needs. You learn what your spirit can withstand. You learn what kind of love, peace, and boundaries you deserve. You start anchoring your worth in the strength of your healing journey instead of the opinions of those who never carried your burden. The moment you shift your focus from being understood to becoming whole, you step into a version of yourself that no pain, no betrayal, no rejection can diminish, and your life begins to move in a direction that is guided by your resilience rather than your wounds. There will be days when you stand in the middle of your truth, clear as daylight, and still the people around you choose not to see it. They cling to their own interpretations, their own comfort, their own assumptions, and they overlook what you lived through. When that happens, the temptation to defend yourself, to argue, to prove every detail can feel overwhelming. But protecting your peace means recognizing that not everyone deserves access to your truth. Not everyone is ready to understand what you've survived, and not everyone has the courage to look past the surface to see what really happened. Protecting your peace begins when you decide that your emotional safety matters more than convincing someone who isn't listening. Peace grows when you walk away from battles that drain you instead of build you. Some people stay blind because the truth would require them to change their perspective, confront their values, or admit they misjudged someone. Others stay silent because your truth threatens the comfort of their world, but none of that changes the reality of what you experienced. Your peace is sacred. It's the place where you breathe again after being suffocated by someone's manipulation or cruelty. It's the space where your spirit heals, where your mind rests, where your strength returns. When others don't see the truth, it doesn't mean you speak louder. It means you stand firmer. You protect yourself by choosing distance instead of debate, clarity instead of chaos, growth instead of explanation. You give yourself permission to let people misunderstand you instead of handing them the power to unsettle your stability. Peace is not something others give you. It's something you build. You build it by saying no to conversations that reopen wounds. You build it by surrounding yourself with people who value honesty. You build it by setting boundaries that protect your emotional well-being. And you build it by trusting that the truth has a way of revealing itself, even when you stop fighting for it to be seen. When others don't see the truth, you don't shrink, you don't beg, you don't lose yourself trying to make them look again. You keep your focus on the life you're creating, not the opinions you're escaping, and in that choice your peace becomes stronger than their denial, and your path becomes clearer than their confusion. There comes a point in your journey where you stop looking back at what they did, who they sided with, or how they failed to show up for you. You start realizing that your future isn't built on their choices. It's built on your strength. And that strength grows every time you decide to move forward instead of staying tangled in someone else's decisions. You've walked through pain, confusion, betrayal, and moments that tried to convince you that you were powerless. But here you are, still standing, still learning, still rising. That alone is a statement louder than any judgment or misunderstanding aimed your way. Building a future rooted in your strength means refusing to let the actions of others dictate the direction of your life. Some people chose comfort over truth, denial over growth, and illusion over authenticity. But you didn't. You chose to face reality. You chose to heal. You chose to rebuild your sense of self even when it felt like pieces were missing. That choice carries a power that echoes far beyond their opinions. It shapes the kind of life you're creating, a life where resilience becomes your foundation. Your strength begins to speak louder when you stop explaining yourself and start embodying the lessons you learned. When you stop chasing closure and allow growth to be your closure. When you stop waiting for someone to recognize your value and start living in a way that leaves no doubt about it. Your future becomes brighter not because others supported you, but because you supported yourself. You learned how to stand alone without feeling lonely. You learned how to trust your voice even when it shook. You learned how to walk away from what dimmed your spirit so you could step into what honors it. One day, the noise of their choices won't matter as much. The people who underestimated you will fade into the background, and the ones who tried to break you will become nothing more than chapters you've outgrown. What will remain is the strength you built, the peace you protected, and the vision you carried forward. And in that future, your life becomes a testimony that you are defined not by who walked away, but by who you became after they did, and that voice of strength will guide you farther than any opinion, any betrayal, or any misunderstanding ever could. Here is a powerful asterisk 150 word ending asterisk for your motivational speech. In the end, your journey is not about who stayed blind. who stood with the wrong person, or who failed to understand your truth. Your journey is about the strength you chose when you could have given up, the healing you embraced when pain tried to hold you down, and the courage you found within yourself when no one else could see the battle you were fighting. You are rising into a life shaped not by betrayal, but by resilience, not by their choices, but by your clarity, not by your past, but by the future you're brave enough to build. Let their decisions stay with them, and let your growth speak for you. Walk forward with confidence, knowing you have survived what was meant to break you. And now you are becoming someone even stronger, even wiser, and even more unstoppable than before.